Literature gives us the opportunity to experience lives, perspectives, and worlds different from our own. Though remember, friend, a good story has many readings, and this is but one. So England is on the verge of nuclear war. But the good news is you're being evacuated from London. But the bad news is your plane has been shot down on an uncharted island. But the good news is you and some of the other passengers survived. But the bad news, there's a monster lurking on your island, and one by one, your fellow survivors succumb to the beast. Now, all of that would be hard enough to deal with as an adult, but now imagine having to face that when you're 12, like Ralph in Lord of the Flies. But I'm guessing based on the face you're making that you've never read it. Well, totally fine. Let's not keep you in the dark. Thanks so much to CuriosityStream for helping support today's literary discussion. So you haven't read Lord of the Flies by William Golding. Well, you know what that means. We're going to take a deep dive into the story so you can witness some of the darkest parts of the human psyche. Yay! Lord of the Flies has been a standard in literature classes for decades because the novel's terrifying insight into human nature still rings true. And because its symbolism is about as thick as the jungle of the uninhabited island where the story starts. You are Ralph, a 12-year-old boy whose evacuation plane has crashed on a deserted island. No adults survived. Fortunately, though, you encounter another survivor, an intellectual kid with glasses with the unfortunate nickname of Piggy. He shows you he just found a conch shell and knows that you can use it to alert other survivors of your location. Awesome! You blow into it like a horn, and a few of the other surviving boys head your way. Among them is a choir and their bully of a boy boss, Jack. And when it comes time to elect a leader for all of these lost boys, Jack's furious that the others choose you over him. So to placate his anger, you suggest that he leads a hunting party. A role that he relishes maybe a little too much. Dare I say foreshadowing? Even this early on, we run into several of the book's major symbols. The conch shell used to call the boys to order comes to symbolize organized society, Piggy's glasses are used to make fire and thus represent scientific achievement, and then there's Simon. He's the second friend you make on the island who helps you build huts for the youngest boys and genuinely cares about the well-being of others. Readers often interpret him as something of a Christ figure, which coincidentally is not the figure you would want to be in any of these stories because that rarely ends well for them. Wait, Zoe, how many chapters did I cover before I got sidetracked by symbolism? And how many chapters are there again? Oh boy. Okay, let's regroup and focus on a couple other major plot points. First up, the beast. One of the young boys reports to you that he saw a terrifying monster in the forest, which causes ripples of fear throughout the entire group. Piggy thinks it's just a figment of the child's imagination, but Jack announces that he and his hunters will find and kill the beast, though their initial search yields nothing. However, that night, a pilot who ejected from his plane over the island dies while parachuting down, and his body ends up dangling from a tree. Then, when you and some of the other boys see the shadow of the body in the twilight and hear the leathery flapping of his parachute from the wind, in all of your minds, the beast is terrifyingly real. In Lord of the Flies, Golding's beast is humanity's inclination toward barbarism, and he makes it abundantly clear that, in their minds, is the only place the monster actually exists. The boys in the story use their false belief in an external beast to justify the gruesome acts of violence desired by their inner beasts. And it's no coincidence that Golding completed this book in the years following World War II, as humanity had just witnessed the horrifying consequences of supposedly civilized people turned savage. Also, it should be noted that Golding's depiction of savagery seems suspiciously like English stereotypes of non-Western island cultures, complete with war paint, ritual dancing, and pagan idols. But on that note, in real life, there's actually evidence to suggest that when children raised in actual island cultures are isolated, they behave in a strikingly different way. Famously, when a group of real-life Tongan boys were stranded on a desert island in 1965, they thrived for 14 months and took excellent care of each other. So, as a note, if one were so inclined, one might ask what it is about the Western school system that led Golding to believe we're all genuine savages, but that's none of my business. Ooh, that's a good chai. Where are we? Oh yeah. As fear of the beast spreads, you watch with growing anxiety as Jack and his hunters break off from your civilization. Also, his followers leave a horrific offering for the beast, a pig's head on a stake, the titular Lord of the Flies. And at their new camp, they perform frenzied dances, reenacting the thrill of the hunt. But it isn't just Jack's followers that get sucked into this hysteria. Every night, more boys sneak off to join Jack's mob, and even you and Piggy eventually get swept up in the excitement, which is when yet another horror occurs. A figure bursts through the brush, and in a frenzy, you all believe it's the beast. So in a state of rage and fear, you all blindly join in killing it. But when the thrill of the moment passes, you're devastated to discover that the beast you slew was actually Simon. As all the boys absorb this new nightmare, the tide comes in and carries his body out to sea. Horrified by the murder, you decide you have to preserve social order, but Jack and his followers are no longer capable of seeing reason. Soon the conflict between you both comes to a head. Jack sends boys to your hut to steal Piggy's glasses, and with no other option, you and Piggy travel to Jack's camp with the conch in hopes of talking some sense into him. Piggy then tries to speak up, but one of Jack's followers pushes a rock onto him, shattering the conch and sending your friend over a cliff to his death. All Jack needs to do now to cement his power is kill you. So he sets the forest on fire to try to smoke you out, while all of his hunters advance. You flee from the young killers as the island is swallowed by flames. And when you finally emerge from the forest to the beach, you run directly into a naval officer who came ashore to inspect the flames. He expresses shock that English boys could behave so despicably. You know, unlike the adults who were engaged in the potential world-ending war, like civilized people. Lord of the Flies offers a terrifying view of humanity, suggesting that all it would take for society to collapse is a crisis, a charismatic strongman, and fear. And it still resonates strongly with many readers today because, well, we do keep seeing that very scenario playing out in real life. And while great literature lets us look through other people's eyes, sometimes it also gives us a chance to look inside ourselves. In a moment of crisis, would we be like the savage Jack or the more civilized Ralph? And if we do choose the Jack path, will there be somebody to save us from our own viciousness? And I know that this is some pretty heavy subject matter, but Lord of the Flies does endure to this day, because at the same time, it's also an exciting visceral read. You know, part boy's adventure, part existential horror story. And good news, you can enjoy this visit to the dark side from the safety of your own well-lit home or, coffee shop when you read it for yourself. If I was stranded on a desert island and I could only have one streaming service with me, it would definitely be... That's not a thing. I was going to say I would want to keep watching all my favorite educational entertainers on the internet over on Nebula, our by creators for creators streaming service. Not only can you get all of our shows on Nebula without ads like this one, but we've been building up a pretty nice collection of extra content over there as well. I've done videos breaking down the openings of both BioShock and Cowboy Bebop. Can't wait for that inevitable crossover, by the way. My erroneously titled weekly podcast, the only podcast about movies, explores the conversations films start, and of course the Extra History team and I were able to craft an exclusive episode on Tipu Sultan, thanks to Nebula's support. Not to mention, Nebula's home to a ton of our other favorite internet folks as well, such as CinemaWins, Mary Spender, and Legal Eagle. And because CuriosityStream is a fan of independent educational creators, they've teamed up with us over at Nebula, so that we can offer you what, in my humble opinion, is the best deal in streaming today. Sign up for CuriosityStream using our link in the description, and you'll get a matching Nebula subscription for free. And that's on top of CuriosityStream's thousands of big-budget nonfiction videos and award-winning original series, curated across their truly ginormous library of shows. And with all of the wild talk in today's episode about kids getting lost in their imagination, I was really excited to check out a different flavor of that topic in the documentary Tell Them Anything You Want, a loving look at Maurice Sendak, the author of one of my absolute favorite children's books, Where the Wild Things Are, where you get to go inside the mind of the man who told children's stories like no one else could.
Let the wild rumpus start!
All you gotta do is head over to curiositystream.com/extra credits to get a subscription to both CuriosityStream and Nebula for 26% off the regular price. And to be clear, that is not a trial account. That's under $15 for a full year of both services. Then, not only will you be watching some of the best content this series of tubes has to offer, but you'll also be directly helping out us at Extra Credits in the process. Also, as always, thanks for sticking around till the end of the episode. Don't tell everybody else, but you're my favorite. Greetings, Ahmed Ziad, Turk, Alicia Bramble, Angelo Valenciana, Casey Muscha, Dominic Valenciana, Joseph Blame, Kyle Murgatroyd, and O'Reels1. Y'all are the best!